Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. It is Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024. I'm so glad to be back with you here in the new year. Happy New Year to everyone out there. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel all throughout 2023. I'm so grateful. And I start the beginning of every month, of course, with announcing my winners here on the C60 giveaway. C60evo.com/YAFTV, the ESS60 molecule here, the incredible miracle molecule that will absolutely boost your metabolism for 2024, get you ready to go, cleaning out that mitochondria, just giving you brain power, cellular power, everything you need to jump forward into your New Year resolutions if you do that kind of thing. But I kind of do because it's a great, just start into my new year. But c60evo.com/YAFTV, use the code YAFTV for 10% off on C60 Evo. They support this channel and I support them. And of course, C60 Evo gets straight into your mitochondria, cleaning out your cells from the crud, all of the garbage that's raining down on us from the skies, staying in and in your cells for 14 days, 10 to 14 days, and cleaning everything out. And so I always announce the winners at the beginning of every month. And with the new year, it's always fun to do so. So the C60 giveaway winners this month are Deb and Julie, and those emails will be sent to you. We'll send your C60 capsules to you. This is a 90 capsules of C60 Evo to just get in there and help you celebrate your new year, get healthy, get ready, because we have to be so active this year. And people who subscribe to the channel with contributions, you get 15% off with a different link sent to you. So that's that. And congratulations to Deb and Julie. And so here we go. We're going to jump into the news. I'll start with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence or hatred or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice. There are further disclaimers in the description below. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in here because we're in the new year. We have to get active right away. And I have to focus on the things that I think are the most important. And while they come out with, it's the Epstein list and the client list, and we're going to talk about that in this video, more the bigger version of what that really is, kind of a beard for. It's a cover for a much larger, massive, globalist trafficking situation that's much larger than Epstein. We'll touch in on that here, but I'm going to start with what is the real steal of what's coming here in 2024 with the globalist cartel Babylon plan to steal our assets. And this has to do with what is going on with the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, now trying to put in a new category of company on the New York Stock Exchange that is called natural asset companies. Natural asset companies for ecosystem management. And so the New York Stock Exchange approached the SEC back in early November to add this new category. And what this has to do with is stealing our public lands in the name of selling them, literally selling them, to globalist corporations called natural asset companies to manage them, okay, for what is going to be the steal, okay, the big steal of the lands as planned by World Economic Forum et al., the Great Reset, Build Back Babylon Better, where they're going to steal the land, leverage more debt, okay, out of the United States that is bankrupt and literally now at $34 trillion in debt. They're going to use this new way to leverage more out of the United States, okay, to borrow more money, to create more debt, to launder more and more billions and billions of dollars. And so let's just get into what this is. So what happened is that the New York Stock Exchange approached the SEC, and this was in early November. And I've been talking about this, I think in November, I was talking about how they are using the smart dust, the sensors, the Internet of Bodies that we're all a part of because they're raining down from the skies, all of this garbage. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed in the last, over the New Year holidays, there was a massive chemtrail geoengineering push with just an onslaught of crud. Everybody was getting sick. It was the same kind of viral stuff, the achiness, the flu-like symptoms, the bad bowel stuff, and of course the heart problems, what they now call holiday heart syndrome, as I talked about in my last video. Well, now in the mainstream media, all owned by Pfizer et al., the cartel Babylon media, they're now saying, oh, the latest COVID blah blah strain is going to cause a massive heart failure pandemic. So that's huge to pay attention to because people are having massive heart issues going on right now, and we'll get into more about that. But let's get back to what's going on here with this national asset company's planned grab of all of the natural resources of the Western countries especially, but all over the world, where the World Economic Forum, the globalists, the Dutch royalty, the trillionaires, all of them, cartel Babylon, planning to steal all of our resources. And so let's get into it. So what is, we've known for a while that the UN had put out this thing that they want 30 by 30% of all land in the world to become fallow, to become absolutely not used by humans, and that by 2030, 30% of all land in the world would be deemed unapproachable, unusable, untouchable by humans, and would be part of forming what is to be, of course, the regions, okay, that are planned as to take over, the North American region, the South American region, all of these regions that they're trying to destroy the sovereignty of nations and put in, of course, this plan for what will eventually become the 10 kingdoms, of course, of the Antichrist. But let's get into the meat of this. So natural asset companies is what the New York Stock Exchange wants the SEC to include in what is the ecosystem management new category, okay, on the stock exchange. And so for the first time ever, they want to have on the stock exchange a category of companies that don't make a profit, that don't create anything. Instead, they remove resources from the market, from the economy. They remove natural resources. And then instead, through all the sensor system, the smart system dousing of all of these natural lands that are public lands, national parks, public owned lands, okay, that are in common to the people of the United States and other places in the world. They're doing it hugely in Australia as well, other places in the world, oftentimes trying to coerce Native Americans or Native Australians into these kind of public-private partnerships that they're trying to push that are just a beard, really, to steal the land and steal the resources. And so they won't make anything. Instead, they will preserve everything. And what it's going to do is basically they're going to trade on not using the land, not using the resources. And they're going to allow globalist corporations, non-American, foreign corporations, to buy public lands, okay? This is literally happening, stealing lands that belong to us in our sovereign United States and our sovereign American pact that is part of our America. Sell these lands to globalist corporations to be protected, okay, under UN Agenda 2030 sustainability baloney. Buy these lands, okay, calling them natural asset companies, coming through the UN proclamations to preserve them, drive people off them, and many, there's many things within here that I'm going to talk about. And so this is really important. We have to act immediately because it came out in November. They were trying to make it very secret. Different treasurers of different states got hold of this, got wind of it, different senators, and made it public. And that's the only reason we're able to talk about it. I mentioned it briefly back in November, but it's really important to understand. So basically, the land will be made to remain idle, and it's fully charged with smart sensors, okay, that will basically they're tokenizing and monetizing natural God-given processes of the earth. So things like photosynthesis of forests, okay, will be monetized, and the growth of those forests will be monetized, and there will be derivatives that will come out of it, and it will be a huge, massive money-making scheme on producing nothing. Instead, it will be on conserving. And this conservation isn't for the greater good of the planet and humanity. It is to reset this whole globalist system into pushing humans out of the land, out of the resources, into, of course, human habitation regions. And they're starting with this, and they're monetizing it, they're tokenizing it, and they are surveilling it with smart Internet of Earth systems. And so let's get into more of it. And what I'm going to say right now is you need to go to sovereigntycoalition.org, sovereigntycoalition.org. I'll link it below. They give you a way to send a message, send a protest, send your ideas and your the protest about this to the SEC, also to your representatives and senators. But I would also say you need to contact your governors and especially your county commissioners. And actually, you need to be your county commissioners, your local land commissioners. You need to be your county clerk, not just for elections, but for property rights and what's going on here with this totally silent new grab of what they're calling natural asset companies that are globalist companies, not U.S. These can be our adversaries, things like China, the Middle East, etc., buying up the areas of resources where we have rare earth minerals, where we have oil, where we have natural gas, and saying, oh, we're creating this beautiful conservation area, when really it's just a competition to put the United States out of business. And so let's get into some more of what this is. One of the great people working on this is the Utah treasurer, state treasurer Marlo Oaks. He wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal back in November, and this got and actually it was the end of actually September where this stock exchange ask went to the SEC. Sorry, I thought it was early November. So Marlo Oaks found out about this. He's the state treasurer of Utah, and big ups to him. He's doing heavy lifting. He basically he is been starting a coalition of state treasurers to come against this, to say, hey, this is going to absolutely bankrupt our states, and they're going to use, the globalists will be able to leverage actually, our criminal cartel government is going to use this as a way to leverage more debt, to steal more through the fiat leveraging debt system, to keep this bankrupt system going by allowing foreign powers to come in and buy our land, okay, our national heritage land, to finance more and more of their stealing and laundering and debt. And so what Marlo Oaks had to say is that it's the UN valuing Earth's resources, tokenizing them and putting sensors in them. His big deal is that if we don't stop the SEC, this ecosystem services will literally control. It will create an entire new way that the economy is run, where people, the policing of public lands, the surveillance of public lands, the complete whole systems of not allowing us on our own public lands is what will come of this. These lands will become owned and quarantined by these natural asset companies, and the people who do produce, the people who are creating oil, natural gas, coal, etc., they will have to pay these foreign national asset companies, natural asset companies, they'll have to pay them, carbon credit money, and the whole ERG credit score system requires that. So we're still in the beginning stages of us having our carbon credit, social credit score individually, and it's already been going on corporationally. All right, it's already been happening that way, and it's going to continue happening. And so this is what is going on, and what Marlo Oaks, Utah State Treasurer, is putting out there. The vote was supposed to be happening yesterday. There was enough public outcry because of his work and others that came forward and actually protested this. This was Representative Hagerman out of Wyoming. She's awesome. She wrote a letter and a petition, and a couple other senators, and they stopped what was supposed to already be happening back in December. And it got postponed. There was supposed to be a vote yesterday. It got postponed. And now we have until the 18th of January. So this is huge, important work that we have to do, whether it is calling your representatives, 202-225-3121, or your senators, 224-3121. Or you can use the Bill Blasters app. You can go to billblastersapp.org. You can go to, I think, one of the most direct ways is going to that sovereigntycoalition.org, and they will get your, you can pinpoint and send to your direct officials. But then local, of course, is key. And becoming actually the local person controlling these things, because it's getting into land easement rights. It's getting into controlling what you can do with your land if you happen to abut one of these natural conservancy areas. It doesn't have to be a big one. It could just be a local natural conservancy area. They can control what you do on your land if you even have an easement to these lands. And so this is the way that they're stealing our land, and we need to act now. And so let's get into it more. So the plan, as Marlo Oaks had laid out in his Wall Street Journal op-ed, is that they're basically auctioning off our national lands, our public lands, states' lands, and the stock exchange is going to call this generating ecosystem services. And this is not to generate any economic activity. It's the reverse. It's the absolute reverse, to stop economic activity use of the land. And it's not just the land, it's the water and the air. The air. They're auctioning off the air that we breathe, their airspace, and the water, to become this thing called natural asset companies that manage it, that manage and steal our land, our air, our water. So we think it's awful when in places like Oregon, where they're like, hey, we own that runoff from your roof that you save in your water capture barrels. That's owned by the state. They're so full bore there. Imagine that on steroids, where these natural asset companies, through the globalist cartel Babylon, comes in and says, we own all the resources. You're just a visitor on our ownership of this. And so this is, again, they're tokenizing it. They're going to build derivatives on it. And you're going to have rabid, power, money hungry stock exchange brokers. They're going to be rabid about the surveillance and the protection of these assets that are being stolen by global companies. And so it's public, state, and federal. And so you'll have natural asset corporations to manage and police and the resources, the land, stop development, stop energy production, stop any recreation as well. That's the same thing. Limit and then stop recreation on our public lands. And we've been seeing them through the COVID crap, shutting down the national parks, controlling them more and more, shutting down state parks, but then not, they just sit there fallow. We don't know what's going on there. It's all being put towards what was this outcome, this reset, build back Babylon better of pushing us off of the use of land, stealing the land, pushing us into closer and closer urban settings, and of course what they're calling human habitation zones. And so basically what Marlo Oaks is saying is that if we don't stop it immediately, by January 18th, speak up, then there is a rebuttal period that goes till February 1st, where they get to rebut against what everybody says, which is, of course, don't take our lands. We don't want globalist forces owning America. It's criminal. It's anti-constitutional. It is absolutely a steal of our land. And of course, the Biden crime family, the Biden cartel puppet regime is fully on board for this, because it is a plan for the banksters to be able to leverage more fiat debt through this country, to keep the dollar going in its current system, to keep laundering the money, keep stealing the resources, and to have a whole massive, huge new way of leveraging and stealing resources, but making tons of money. The reality is that the Earth's, what economists have valued is that the Earth's resources, okay, are worth about $5 quadrillion, okay? What the stock exchange and what actual production of resources, where there's economic stimulation that's made by people making things, or using resources to generate energy, or there is inventions, there is services, goods, all of this, that's worth about 1.4 quadrillion, okay? $1.4 quadrillion, meaning all human activity that creates, all right? This is, no. We are taking God's creation, okay? The earth doing what it does, the sun doing what it does, the water doing what it does, photosynthesis, literally all being managed by sensors, all being watched, surveilled by sensors, and increasing derivatives, increasing value for people who put their money into not using the resources, okay? And the Earth's resources, through economists' guesstimation, is worth 5 quadrillion. So they're tapping into now this new idleness, just like they want us to be idle, sit in the metaverse, participate in a synthetic reality, not do anything except, do what they tell us through our brains, okay, as we're attached to a synthetic simulation reality with our biosensors and reading our activity, and that our only worth is that we do what they say, whether it's even through our thoughts, what we think, what we buy, who we talk to, what clicks we do online. That is the new economy in their eyes. That's what they're planning for us. And so this is the big grab, the big steal that we need to stop. Go to sovereigntycoalition.org, get your voice heard, talk to your county commissioner. That is where it's massively important, is that you go local with your county commissioner and fight this. They're financializing natural, autonomous, God-given processes. All right, that's their new freaking thing. And it's evil. It's evil. It's anti everything that God has said that humans are supposed to do. And of course, we'll move on from there. One thing I want to say here is that conservation easements are really important. Lands, a lot of times farmers or even people will just, out of the kindness of their hearts want to say, hey, oh, you're conserving land over here. Yeah, you can have an easement across my land, and you get a little tax break there, and it's great. For farmers, it can be huge tax break. But basically what that easement is going to mean once these natural asset companies come in and do ecosystem management is that there will be all kinds of rules and regulations put forth whereby what you do on your land will be absolutely controlled by what they say you can do on your land if you have an easement. And they're pushing these easements hugely, and it's going through very quietly of how these Soros-funded World Economic Forum stooges, 2030 Agenda 2030 stooges being implanted in counties, in states, governments, everywhere to make this move fast. And this is, again, Rockefeller funded, as well as the 2010 plan was from the Rockefellers, where their 2010 plan was that what bodies of water could be completely sequestered, completely quarantined and shut off from human use. And that's what their plan is, that if they can build enough of these natural asset companies around different resources, we can be cut off from rivers, lakes, access to different parts of the oceans. This is serious for, as a heart attack, which they're doing from the skies, for fishermen, for farmers, for people doing energy production, all of it. So this is huge, folks. This is literally the antithesis of what a free market government is. This is literally a slave system government where they're saying we're going to monetize God's processes of photosynthesis, of what the earth naturally does. It'll be volcanic eruptions. It'll be all of it, where that will be monetized. And that's how the rich, the elites, the trillionaires will increase their wealth through stealing, grabbing, protecting, surveilling, policing, and disallowing humans from using our own resources. Whew. So that's what I wanted you to know about that. It's really important that you make your thoughts about this known. Okay. This is way beyond, the foreign hostile governments like China coming in and buying all the land next to military bases, even though that's still going. There was another one exposed, which I'm going to get into in my next video. Daily Caller is coming out with a new expose on C Nano USA, a CCP company, C Nano, near Kansas City, that is just basically trying to install themselves 45 miles from Fort Leavenworth and the other huge Air Force base there. And it's interesting, Kansas City, we've got Governor Parsons out of Missouri basically putting out massive legislation saying that he's not going to allow China or foreign national governments to buy land near military bases. So there's a big fight going on. I talked to you about Goshen up in northern Michigan in my last video. They're fighting there. And again, this was about fighting through the local county commissioners. Okay, and this is huge. We have to be on top of our land commissioners, our county commissioners, and our clerks, the people in charge of both our elections and our property rights. This is huge. And so I'm going to get more into the C Nano Corporation because that is a big deal. And big ups to Governor Parsons making good action there in Missouri. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Please, please, please go to sovereigntycoalition.org and take action right now to have your voice heard, that we're not going to have foreign corporations coming in there calling themselves natural asset companies to buy up our public lands, and that the government is not going to leverage our natural resources for more of their money laundering and fiat debt to constantly use for their own. Well, actually, they're using it, of course, for the complete invasion of this country. $450 billion now is going in yearly, $450 billion, $500 billion for the invasion of the United States through the borders, the planned massive trafficking operation that is going on. And people are really, so big talking about what's going on with the Epstein, client list and all this. Old news at this point, people. We already know all these people are giant criminal, pedophile, disgusting, awful creatures. Okay, and you can obsess about who and what all day long, but bigger than the Epstein thing, or actually just in line with it, but not what you're ever going to hear about the client list, is we get back to like Mike Gill and what he's been exposing. And I was talking about this several months ago, and many people are. Michelle Moore, Carrie Cassidy, Mike Gill's exposure. He's called the Pandora whistleblower, the number one whistleblower, for everything that he has uncovered about nearly $1 trillion in money laundering going through New Hampshire, primarily to do with everybody from the Bidens to the Clintons, to a massive human trafficking, drug trafficking, child trafficking, organ trafficking, every kind of trafficking that is run at the upper levels on a global level, coming through the United States, that the cartels out of Mexico are being run from the United States, that, in his guesstimation, in his expose, and what Mike Gill, who's fighting for his life, and if you don't know about Mike Gill, I'll see if I can link my video, but I'll definitely link Michelle Moore's videos below. But basically, Mike Gill ran for governor in New Hampshire quite a while ago, and he went up against the Sununu crime family. Sununu, who now today, or yesterday, has endorsed Nikki Haley. And you have Chris Christie saying, I'm not dropping out of the race. How dare he, endorse Nikki Haley? And it's all a complete beard. It's a complete ruse. Of course, they're going to endorse Nikki Haley. The push here is to try to cheat in the primaries, to cheat Trump out of the primary. And we have Trump going up petitioning SCOTUS today, the Supreme Court of the United States, basically saying, put a stop to this this thing that's going on with this people who are not elected officials, the Secretary of States like Senna Bellows there in Maine, who's from the Southern Poverty Law Center and the ACLU, who just, flat out said, we're taking Trump off the ballot and I have to do it. It's what the Constitution tells me to do. Complete lies and baloney. Basically petitioning SCOTUS to say, hey, we need to put a stop to this. This is actually completely illegal. We'll see where that goes. But what I'm trying to say here is that there's much deeper and bigger things going on with the amount of trafficking that runs the world, the cartel Babylon, the economy of sin that runs the entire world, runs all of our governments, and in this government is so deep, so large that it is beyond anything that we could ever even imagine, really, because we're not evil. We're not evil people. We don't think about this, but it literally runs the entire black book world, and that is that's not enough for them. They have to come for what we have too. Hence the massive $34 trillion in debt. Hence the stealing of all of our money to fund their continual laundering and stealing. Right? It's never enough, and it's crazy that we continue to put up with it. That we continue to pay taxes at all for entertainment purposes only. It's crazy that. That we were able to have our banking stolen, back in, in the early 20th century, right, by these cartel Babylon members. And it's all contrived, as we know. So the Epstein stuff, we know they're evil. We know who it's all connected to. We know why Ghislaine Maxwell hid in New Hampshire, because New Hampshire is where this massive hub of this massive cartel is centered, that Mike Gill has been exposing. And when he ran for governor, he had already been like a huge, I think one of the largest mortgage mortgage finance companies in the country, had a huge, massive thoroughbred stable that he was, basically breeding incredibly award-winning thoroughbred horses, all of that, whatever. He basically was able to get his hands on all the information that became what was the Pandora Papers, but goes way beyond it. I talked in my last video about Alex Saab, who was released from jail here and sent back to Venezuela to do his next mission by the CIA and the FBI as an informant that he's been for at least a decade. And he's got sent back to Venezuela to do whatever he's going to do, okay? Whether it's traffic more Venezuelan Hezbollah up into the United States, create more deals with the Chinese, whatever it is, okay? But Mike Gill doing the heavy lifting here, fighting for his life, being, attempted to be assassinated here several times. What he's had to say lately on the Michelle Moore show, on Carrie Cassidy, is that he believes that he knows that Trump has all of his evidence of what is the Pandora Papers on steroids, what he calls the Pandora box. Much, much larger than the Epstein controlled release that they're doing. Because it's not that Epstein wasn't big. He was, but he's just a name. He's just a name that signifies what is the Mossad, MI6, England, UK, Russian oligarchs. It has to do with the Jewish banksters. All of this control of people and scientists, especially, and doctors and hospitals and big pharma, and the creation of drugs and the creation of clones and the creation of baby parts and massive organ trafficking, massive child trafficking, all the depravity of that, the bribery system built on pedophilia, but it gets way darker into, of course, the use of children, babies, for this crazy, disgusting, really what goes back to, it's the economy of sin, but it is the use of the youth, the use of children for the betterment, of the devil worshiper, of the person who wants to be God. And what you see, I read an article recently that was it came out of South Korea, just to, flesh this out a bit. It's disgusting, but we have to, I just want to say it, where out of South Korea, they had captured a whole huge trafficking situation of these pills, where the pills were basically, and just, I'm sorry to have to say it, but they're basically babies that were literally ground up, They traced their genetics to Northeast China. These babies came out of Northeast China, probably out of the slave camps and the baby farms. That's what this cartel Babylon is. That's what they do. This client list of pedos that are disgusting is a distraction from the larger thing. Wanting to be God, transhumanism, total economy of sin, total use of youth and innocence and fresh, beautiful, given God life, to feed their old, sad, disgusting, evil selves to keep going and generating more sin for the Build Back Babylon Better. And in this expose out of South Korea, there was captured tens and tens of thousands of these powder capsules of what were basically, it was babies that were basically ground up and powdered and put in capsules and being trafficked to give to the elites to feed their longevity program, right? Feed their longevity program. And when we think of that, and we think of, how they try to put that into everything, whether it's the fetal lines, in our vaccines, whether it's the fetal tissue into the products, the natural flavoring, all of this passive consent that they try to capture us into, this is what it's really about. It's what it's really about. That's the larger, massive, whether it's the Don May, it is the reversal of God. They want to do as much sin as possible to become Lucifer, to actualize their simulation, godlike situation, right? Where they capture humanity, steal the planet, put us into the metaverse, and make us into batteries that they feed off of and luge into the demonic realm. And that's what's up. And it's disgusting, but it's real. And let's just hope that super bacteria and viruses that they found in those pills actually comes back to haunt those people. When we think of Peter Nygard, I mean, right over this holiday, the Biden clone, whatever he is, that bread puppet that stands up and eats ice cream, he was in the Caribbean, okay, because the Bidens own an island right next to Peter Nygard's island, okay, which is just around the bend, right, from Pedo Island, from Little St. James, from Epstein's island. Okay, so you get Nygard's island, then you get Jim Biden's island, bought through all these shell companies, right? Some of them out of New Hampshire. We had Mike Gill saying that Hunter Biden's law team contacted him recently, a few months ago, right before, remember, they settled the case with the baby mama of Hunter Biden's illegitimate child that Joe Biden won't recognize whenever he talks about his grandchildren. She was suing him for alimony, palimony, whatever you call it. And basically, that legal team contacted Mike Gill and said, hey, can you tell us where these LLCs are in New Hampshire? Because we want to go after Hunter Biden. And soon after that, Hunter settled with her. And so this is the situation, right? There's a much, much bigger Pandora's box. And Mike Gill has the goods. They're trying to kill him, right? Because he uncovered this through all of his massive work that he's done for the last 17 years. And recently, and this is interesting, I might end here, but what I thought was interesting in his most recent videos with Mike Gill is that he talked about how he had contacted Mike Lindell, and he's been trying to connect with President Trump for years, and President Trump has all the evidence of what is beyond the Pandora's papers of this pedophile, massive CIA-run, Mossad, MI6, getting back into Maxwell, back into the Blinken family, back into everybody who is showing their faces out there right now, Blinken being front and center with everything going on with the Ukraine, Israel, cartel Babylon control system right now. Blinken's stepfather being hugely... Blinken's stepfather was the last one to talk to Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, the triple agent with Russia, MI6, and Israel. Russia really being those Jewish banker oligarchs, okay? And Blinken's stepfather was the last one to talk to him before he was murdered off of his yacht called the Ghislaine, right? The Ghislaine. And Ghislaine, who hid in New Hampshire, now in jail, right? It's so massive. It's Barr's father. It's the school that Epstein, attended, that Barr's father was running in New York City, the pedophilia out of there, the connection to the banks, connection to JP Morgan. It just goes on and on, okay? But what I was trying to say was that Mike Gill said recently that he was talking to Mike Lindell, who was riding in a car with Kurt Olson, Trump's lawyer, and he described to him a whole scenario that he believes he has the proper information of. And this has to do with Mike Flynn, General Mike Flynn, for entertainment purposes only, and that he had basically told him multiple things about Pandora's box beyond the Pandora Papers, and that they both heard this information. Part of this information, in Mike Gill's eyes, is that there's a plan for General Flynn to connect with RFK Jr. and for it to be a Flynn-Kennedy 2024 situation. And Mike Gill talked about so much of what he called three doors. He said it's either, Trump opens the Pandora's box and starts putting the information out there and really goes for it, which will make them want to kill him even more, or they will kill him, or he will take a plea deal. And what Gill was saying to Mike Lindell was that, for entertainment purposes only, that there will be a plea deal, that Trump is in discussions around a plea deal to get him out. If he steps down or something happens to him, like an illness, so he has to step down, that he would get immunity, okay? And that this is very much something going on behind the scenes, according to Mike Gill. It's very interesting. For me, I go through research, and then I go through my gut and my God and what feels right to me. And I've always felt right with what Mike Gill has to say. And when it comes to General Flynn, I always feel like he's very removed, okay, from the people, that he speaks as if he's coming from a very far off place, kind of like King Charles. Like he's saying things that we don't really relate to. They might have some words that connect, but mostly it's from a very elite place, a very different kind of place. And it's very different than that central place of a Christ knowing, a centeredness, a truth system. And so that's what I wanted to share, is that Mike Gill is saying that there will be, that there's a plan, kind of like a Pence-Ryan assassination plan that was coming out back in 2016 for entertainment purposes only. The offer that Mike Pence got from Paul Ryan through the Bushes to, we can take out Trump and you and Ryan can run. And there seems to be something going on behind the scenes here with General Flynn, RFK Jr., a Flynn Kennedy thing coming up, right? But they're pushing Haley, and they're pushing this breaking point system, this breaking point that's coming. And we're going to see what happens. I know this has been kind of squirrely and maybe out there for people who haven't heard about Mike Gill or don't know much about him. I'll link many videos below so you can get the information for yourself and see what it means to you. But as we go into 2024, I just kind of want to be real. I want to be real. We have action to do. We have to stop the natural asset companies of the globalists reset steal of our entire country. We have to stop believing in hopium that isn't real. We need to see things, as much as we can through dissecting what's real and what's not for what's coming, right? Mike Gill also had to say that he believes that Juan O'Savin is being thrown under the bus as well in what's coming. He also said, for entertainment purposes only, that he did an interview with Ann Vandersteel that was never aired, and that had everything to do with all of this information seeking about what was said with Mike Lindell and Kurt Olson, the lawyer of Trump. And so I'm going to leave that there. I know it didn't get tons of specificity in there. There's much more I'll go into. I'll be back on Friday to talk more. But I wanted to put that out there, those two things. There's so much more. We have some really cool things that happened today. I'll just mention a couple on my way out. Of course, Catherine Engelbrecht out of True the Vote, won a great case finally. It's been going on for 3 years. This intimidation case from Stacey Abrams, the Bilderberger, right? Stacey Abrams brought to Bilderberg, so funny. Number one plaintiff, where you had Catherine Engelbrecht and her husband of True the Vote doing all the heavy lifting with trying to uncover all the election fraud from 2020. The feds raided them, raided their home, their offices. They were arrested. I think they spent like 8 days in jail. And then they were attacked because they were trying to clean up the Georgia voter rolls, which they were asked to do by election officials in Georgia. And they came at them with you're trying to intimidate the voters by literally looking at the voter rolls. And the great judge out of Georgia there came and said, a federal judge came and said, no, there's not evidence of intimidation whatsoever. They won. And it's a great victory because there are tens of thousands of illegal votes cast in Georgia 2020 that is proven through actually this ballot roll cleanup and also all the other massive evidence coming out of Georgia, but literally that alone. And, we now know that it's come out through federal court. It's not a conspiracy to question the votes of 2020. And so, that is good news, and there's so much more I wanted to say about the awful, when I was talking about the massive trafficking and just how detestable and large and worldwide and massive, and how that's how this cartel Babylon economy of sin functions and works, and how they've gone full bore, just total global, okay, with the trafficking, the harvesting, the killing, this insatiable hungry ghost need, okay, for baby farms and using babies for energy. How massive it is and what's going on with our border is so huge in that. And I'm going to talk about that on Friday. It's just to come into 2024 with this open eyes to know that truth will set you free. And it's scary to know the truth, but it's such a relief. And it's so much, I believe that depression and repression and suppression and that zombie kind of thing that they're trying to do to people with the shots, with the entrainment to the devices, with the constant chatter of the videos, all of it is really about this trying to ignore the truth. And when you just accept the truth and God, it's not scary, it's reality, and it's knowing that we can do better. We can literally do better in our own lives, in our vibrations. The truth vibrations truly set you free, because when you are speaking and knowing the truth, you are on par frequentially, on a frequency and vibrational level with God. And so it is freeing. It frees you. You're not captured by delusion. You're not captured by the fake news. You're not captured by this or that momentary thing. You see a thing that is true and you know it, and then you can share it and you can be part of what is stabilizing, what is actually anchoring in God, good, and in a huge armor of God, the shields up, the pushing back towards Satan, right? And so I'm going to leave it there, folks. I hope you got something from this video, and I'm so glad to be back with you here in 2024. We have so much to do. We got the caucuses coming up here. We have this incredible thing we have to stop, this natural asset companies going on to the New York Stock Exchange secretly through the SEC. Please go to sovereigntycoalition.org, do your part to make your comments, and go approach your local county commissioners and make sure that this isn't happening in your county, but it likely is. And so go and stop it, right? So we are free, and we need to exercise that freedom, because freedom isn't free. It's God-given, but then we have this job here to carry it out. So take action. do everything that's really good for you in these coming weeks. It's going to be intense. And so, do everything for yourself, exercise, eat well, take your supplements. And of course, I recommend C60 Evo because it works for me. C60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off or get 15% off if you contribute to the channel. And there are ways to do so below. Thank you so much for your support through 2023. I'll see you on Friday, and you are free. Happy 2024.